Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Sophia, your host. Ramadan offers us the tools necessary to change our bad habits and rethink our behavior. Dr. Shabir Ali joins me to discuss how we can take advantage of Ramadan to reboot our lives. Dr. Shabir Ali, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
It's my pleasure to be on.
Ramadan Kareem.
Yes, Ramadan Kareem to you too.
Now, I feel like Ramadan is the perfect time to rethink how we're living our lives and to try and reorient ourselves and figure out where we want to go in the future. What are your thoughts on how we can do that?
Yeah, Ramadan is almost like a recharging of one's batteries, one's spiritual batteries. We have to say. So how do we go about doing that? It requires a lot of rethinking. There was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who the story goes used to do a sort of rethinking at the end of each day. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is said to have praised him as one of the people of paradise just because of this characteristic of his.
There are some people who do that even now, not even Muslims, but they think it's a good practice to have to rethink your day and what went right, what went wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course, it can lead to insomnia in some cases.
we are so busy with things in life that sometimes we don't have the time to stop and think and reflect. So it's good to set aside some quiet time, like at the end of the day, or if not every day, then on a weekly basis, and if not on a weekly basis, at least like once a year. So Muslims have this as part of our routines. When we stop for prayer, it's time to rethink. When we come for the Friday prayer, this is a weekly kind of rethinking and reorientation. Ramadan is a great time for reorientation every year. Muslims now coming into Ramadan have to think about how we have spent the last year since the previous Ramadan. What have we done with our resolutions that we so bravely made in the previous Ramadan? How well have we kept them? And what are we going to do from now on? So it is really a time of spiritual renewal, of refreshing, and of looking forward to a better and brighter future.
I feel like Ramadan is a very unique experience because in that short period of time, we figure out very quickly that we can push ourselves beyond the limits that we thought we were able to endure, and we can control ourselves as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people get into trouble in life because they say they lack self-control. People drink, they gamble, and in each case they say, I cannot control myself. People get into affairs at the office and so on. They ruin their marriages, they ruin their lives, all because they lack the self-control. They know that something is wrong, but they're drawn into it, and they, the more and more they go into it, the more they're drawn into it, and the more they feel helpless. But Ramadan teaches us, yes, as you rightly said, we can stretch the limits of what we can endure. And
because during a regular day, we would definitely not be able to withstand that hunger, right? We would go to the nearest store and buy something if we're outside.
Exactly.
And we don't have food, right? But in Ramadan, we're fine. We're working, we're doing our everything as usual, but we're hungry,
Yes, and then the system comes to be tamed. The system is like the bodily system is aching for some food, some drink, but the mind says, no, I'm stronger than this, and I can control this body, and I decide when the body gets its intake of food and water. I decide when the physical desires are to be satisfied and in which way. So the Muslim trains himself or herself during this period of time to stretch the limits of one's endurance. And of course, we know that endurance is very important in many things we do. Sometimes we need to focus, we need to concentrate, we cannot be distracted because we're focusing on an important task at hand. Survival in very difficult circumstances would require some of these skills of endurance and the sense that one can overcome difficult situations.
In Ramadan, we also figure out very quickly that we can get by with very little, and we can do well with very little. Very little food, of course, but we can also translate that into other things in our life. We don't need all of the materialistic things that we have in our life. We can survive without them, and we can do very well. We can succeed, and we can be happy despite not having those things.
Yes, and I think this translates into a very important, actually two important facets, I should say. One facet of this is that when the Muslim goes through this period of abstinence, one gets the sense, as you rightly said, that we don't need all of these material things. So we are more of a mindset now to share the things that we have, because we realize we don't need all of it. And the second facet of this is that we come to understand how other people may be feeling when they have nothing to eat at all. I mean, we're deliberately not eating, but some people cannot eat because they have nothing to eat. So these two facets working together should bring out a more charitable response from Muslims, especially during the time of the month of Ramadan.
But I think not just in Ramadan, but also it should sort of translate, long term into the way we think of other people, like the needy or the poor or the hungry, that we have sort of an obligation to share with them.
Yes, yes. And let me add something here about consumerism. The modern world is filled with advertisements from everyone telling us to buy something and pretending that we need everything right now. And we'll just have to pay for it somewhere down the road. But we need it now, and we must have it now. Ramadan teaches us that we don't need everything now. We can endure without even the basic necessities of life, food and drink. So much less other things which are not so basic to our survival.
And I guess Ramadan also tells us that we should rethink, how much we eat. We haven't spoken about that, but, we should rethink our health and what we're putting into our bodies.
Yeah, so there are two aspects of this. I don't know why I'm thinking two aspects today, but one is the quantity and the other is the quality, right? So in terms of quantity, we already have in our traditions that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that, instead of eating to fill 7 intestines, eat to fill 1. So, you look for a reduced portion, or to think of your stomach as having, 3 portions, and you're just filling 1 portion with food, another with water, and leaving a third for air. So, some people eat when they have good food before them, to the extent that they can't breathe well after that. The second aspect of this is the quality of food that we eat. And in modern times, we have become much more aware of the need to have a balanced diet. So, and to choose properly what we're eating. So we should choose, the method of cooking as well. It's boiling and steaming over frying. We want to avoid the oily stuff. We choose the lean meats over the fatty ones. We choose fish over meats, and we choose vegetables when we have the opportunity. And of course, we should eat a lot of green and colorful vegetables rather than go with all of the carbohydrates and starchy foods. So we're becoming more and more aware of all of this. And actually, this is part of the teaching of our religion, because the Quran itself says, eat of the things which God has provided for you, which are halal and tayyib. So it should be halal, which most Muslims are concerned about. Is it permissible for me to eat, basically? But most Muslims ignore the other part, which says tayyib. It must be things which are wholesome and good. Nowadays, there's a lot of emphasis on whole foods. Well, the Quran already spoke about eating things which are wholesome.
There's one last thing that I wanted to point out, that Ramadan shows us that even in a difficult situation, a hard situation, you can still strive to be good. Because in Ramadan, it's not just about food, but it's also about behavior, how you treat other people, what you say, how your actions towards other people.
Yeah, this is most important. I'm glad you brought that point up, because the Quran actually says that God instituted this fasting for Muslims so that they may become more aware. And more aware of God within the context that's what we'd understand. And how that translates into specifics is that we are to govern ourselves the entire day, and in fact in all of life, in a way that is pleasing to God, which means that we cannot harm other people. To the extent that there's a hadith that says that while you're fasting, if somebody comes to pick a fight with you, you should just simply say, I'm fasting, and excuse yourself from any wrangling or confrontation with anyone, because you want to be at peace. You're at peace with God, at peace with yourself, at peace with the creation around you. That's what Ramadan really teaches us.
We'll leave it on that peaceful note. Thank you for that, Dr. Shabir Ali.
You're welcome.